Hello and welcome to the Arash Markazi Show, presented by the Sporting Tribune on the Bet Las Vegas, the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, and KIRN 670 AM in Los Angeles. A lot to get into, so let's not waste any time. Let's bring in the crew from the Sporting Tribune, Grant Mona, Jake Ticker. Listen, Monday night could not have been any better because the Dodgers had a flashback night. They had an amazing throwback night, and if it's hopefully a sign of things to come. They got Mookie Betts back. That was the big thing. Mookie Betts came back, but even I think this is very important as well. Clayton Kershaw returned to get his first win of the season. What an amazing night that was. Again, Mookie Betts coming back, Kershaw on the mound, just happened to be that way, getting his first win of the season. And again, this could be a sign of things to come for this team. Like, as much as we wanted to see them make some big splashy trades, I think we knew that if they just got healthy, this was a team that would be in position to play in the World Series come October. And now, guys, as we look at the standings, who has the best record in the National League right now? It is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Grant, I'm going to start with you. Amazing night. Monday night in Milwaukee. We'll talk to Jake in a second. Would have been great to get Jake out there. He is back in Los Angeles. But, okay, Mookie Betts, Clayton Kershaw. Let's start with Betts, Grant. Your thoughts on Mookie Betts' return?
It's always good for a player to not even need a rehab assignment and just go right into the game and hit a home run in his first appearance back from the injured list. That's what Mookie Betts did. Again, I'm not surprised by this. I think Mookie Betts is that good to where maybe he doesn't really need a rehab assignment. You usually see rehab assignments for players that are dealing with an oblique or a leg injury or something like that, just to kind of get their rhythm back. But Mookie, it seemed like he didn't even need that. He looked like he was right back in the place where he needed to be. And again, he is not even hitting leadoff anymore. Shohei Ohtani is still hitting leadoff, and he's been in a pretty big slump, but Mookie Betts has actually moved down to the second slot now in the lineup, and it looks like it didn't even matter, right? He looked like he just went right back in the lineup, continued to do what he was doing. So Clayton Kershaw, again, his last start was his best start since he came off the injured list. This start continued that. He looked excellent again. His breaking balls were located very well. His fastball, obviously, it's not going to get up to 92, 94, but it's pinpoint. He was really on point with his location, with his accuracy around the zone. And again, when this offense is going like this and the pitching is doing this, I mean, look, there's been many times across the season where the starting pitching is faltered or the offense is faltered, one or the other. You can never have both. In the game against Milwaukee, it was both. And it just makes it so much easier, guys, when you have players back and healthy. I can't emphasize that enough. As this team gets players back healthier, as this team starts to get more reinforcements and kind of solidify that roster to where you can go to your 10 guys, you can go to your 11 guys off the bench, and you could have that starting rotation filled. I mean, this is a team that's really dangerous. And Arash, like you mentioned, they are now the best team in the National League. Now, look, it's record-wise. Yeah. I'm just going to put it out there that way. But they have the best record in the National League. And just a couple weeks ago, I probably wouldn't have even believed that because of how the Phillies made the Dodgers look, how some of these other teams made the Dodgers look. So this is a huge step in the right direction. It looks like they're finally hitting their footing again. And look, I'm excited to see where this team can go from here because 2 weeks ago, like I just mentioned, it looked pretty bleak, but right now they look like they're hitting a stride.
Grant, it's such a great point because, as I've mentioned several times on this show, I do not care what the Dodgers' record is in September. I do not care what their record is at the end of the regular season. We saw that play out the last two seasons where they are 10, 12, I mean, let's just say 20 games above the second place team in the division. It didn't matter, right? Because of the last two seasons, what happened? The Diamondbacks beat them and the Padres beat them. So that being said, yes, I would rather the Dodgers be the best team in the National League to have a safe and secure cushion in the division. But I know that doesn't mean anything in the big scheme of things. You know, if this team is to win a World Series, they have to be healthy and they have to be playing well. And so I do want to say that the way that they're playing this time of the year, going into August, going into September, going into October, you want that momentum. And Jake, so that's why I'm really not focused on if they're the best team in the National League, if they have the best record in the National League. That being said, of course, I would rather them have that than not. But I've really learned over the last 2 seasons, and I mean, how can you not, that that's not the goal. The goal of the Dodgers is not to be, to have the best record. That being said, that is nice though.
Yeah, Dodger fans, I mean, all of us have gone to the point where it doesn't really matter what happens in the regular season because it's just all about postseason success. When you've won the division this many times, in a row, essentially, this part of the year, the wins and losses don't mean as much. It's all about what's going to happen in October. That being said, you don't want to have to go into a hostile environment in Philly, and go home down 0-2. Being the 1 seed in the NL this year I think is really, really important because of that home field advantage. Getting Clayton Kershaw back is absolutely massive. He went, 6 innings, or the longest he had gone in a start this season, and then handed the ball off to the bullpen. And I want to give my flowers to Michael Kopech. He has been, I think, the biggest addition so far for the Dodgers at the deadline, and I think will be in the playoffs as well. Yeah. He is going to be Dave's number one reliever. The bullpen's been shaky. Evan Phillips has not been the same. Alex Vesia's faltered. Daniel Hudson's been really good all year. He's currently, I think, if you had to choose who's the Dodgers closer, I think it's probably Daniel Hudson right now. But I think Michael Kopech, whether it's the 7th inning, the 8th inning, the 9th inning, whenever that heart of the lineup comes up in the late innings of the playoffs, that's going to be his inning. Getting Mookie back, absolutely massive. Getting Mookie back in right field, I think, is absolutely massive. Gavin Lux is offensive resurgence.
Jake, can you touch on that? Because you and Grant, and I don't like, you guys are not alone. I obviously the Dodgers tried to get creative. Mookie Betts is an amazing athlete, an amazing talent. They put him in a position as shortstop that obviously he had not played before and was not 100% comfortable. Why do you think that this move is not only good for Mookie, but good for the team?
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of reasons. First things first, I think a lot of Dodger fans and baseball fans have this perception that the Dodgers just threw Mookie Betts in the infield and he picked it up. Mookie came up as an infield prospect. He played middle infield throughout the minor leagues, and then the Red Sox threw him out in the outfield. And then it just turned out that he was one of the best in the game out there. Won 6 Gold Gloves, all in right field. I think when you have somebody like that out there, you don't move them out of that position. That's elite defender. Elite range, elite arm, elite speed. He does everything so well out there that I get when you can bring him into the infield, take a little bit off of his body every day, lengthen that lineup a little bit with guys like Jason Hayward. It made sense at the time, but I think now Gavin Lux's bat he's solidified himself as the everyday second baseman in this lineup for the rest of the year. And at shortstop, you got Miguel Rojas, who is an elite defender and has been an elite defender, but this year he's been a pretty good bat as well. So I think it just makes sense for Mookie to be out in right field. You saw his abilities. Jackson Chourio hit a ball off the wall off of Clayton Kershaw, and Mookie threw him, essentially held him to a single, just threw a rifle to second base, nonchalant. He's so good out there. I just think you need to keep that talent, where he's been for the majority of his career.
Grant, I mean, why was this the right move? Again, I think a lot of Dodger fans were very happy to hear that this was happening. Again, this is a position that he's more comfortable in. And by the way, so happy to see him happy again. So happy to see him back on the field again. He's more comfortable here. Why was this the right move at the right time?
I think Arash, it's a multitude of factors. I think that, with their infield depth that they have, they have Nick Ahmed, they had Ahmed Rosario, and I hope that we get to that because I have a lot of thoughts on that move. They had a lot of infield depth where they had Gavin Lux as well. They moved Kike around the lineup as well. Chris Taylor's a guy that's played short this year. When you have that amount of depth in the infield, it just makes more sense for Mookie to be in right field. It just opens things up a little bit more because, in all honesty, guys, I think that Miguel Rojas has basically earned a right to be the starting shortstop, not just with his defense, but his bat has been the best it's been in years. So I think that he's earned that right to be the starting shortstop. And look, Mookie Betts is still an excellent right fielder. He's still a Gold Glove right fielder. I understand that he came up as an infielder. I understand that he's very dynamic and he's such a great athlete that he can play multiple positions. But with the amount of players that the Dodgers have in the infield and the amount of moving parts that they have in the infield, this just makes the most sense. Look, Jason Hayward, and I love Jason Hayward as a clubhouse guy. I love him as a supplemental piece, but I don't think that if you're trying to win a championship, he should have been the starting right fielder for the Dodgers, right? I always saw him as maybe a bench piece, a guy that can come in against right-handed relief pitchers, but never really a guy that should be a mainstay in the lineup. I always thought that Mookie Betts should have been that right fielder. Now, obviously, Andy Pages has been up and down, so that kind of shifts things a little bit, and they just got Kevin Kiermaier, so they do have outfield depth as well, but I think that Mookie moving to right field, I just think that's his natural position at this point. He was a little bit shaky to start at shortstop. Obviously, he got better as the months went on, but I think that he's natural out there. I think that's the best spot for him, and it just opens up a lot more things for the Dodgers lineup in terms of versatility, in terms of guys playing the positions that they're really comfortable at. So again, I think that it's obviously going to look a little bit weird again to see him in right field after we went months seeing him at shortstop, but I think this is for the best for the team.
I totally agree. But listen, great to see them both back, right? And again, we knew we'd see them both back. But on the same night, to get Mookie Betts back, to get Clayton Kershaw back on the mound, to get a win, these are the little victories that you want to see again. Yes, they got a win in the standings, and that's a good thing. But in the big picture, it's really about health with this team. Clayton Kershaw coming back, being healthy, looking good. Mookie Betts being back, being healthy, looking good. These are the steps that you need to see for this team. Again, as we head into late August, September, and then when the real season begins. I mean, when you talk about a Dodgers franchise where it's really all about the World Series, it is all about, how does this team look closing out the season? And again, getting Max Muncy back. I mean, these are guys who are built for this time of year, right? Again, Kershaw, and again, for them to get Kike Hernandez back, again, those are acquisitions made, yes, really big during the course of the season, but really big in October, really big come postseason time. Wanted to kind of switch gears with you guys. Again, big weekend. I know it's the preseason, but anytime we got the Rams and the Chargers going head to head. By the way, Grant, will you be there? Will you be there? It is a Chargers home game. I know this is like back in the day. Back in the day, this is like a couple of months ago when it was Clippers, Lakers. You're like, who's the home team? Chargers are the home team. Grant Milano, will you be there this weekend at SoFi?
Arash, I hate to let everyone down and say that I will not be there, but I will not be there this upcoming weekend. I listen. I feel so bad for even missing the first preseason game against the Cowboys as a Rams fan.
Stetson Bennett.
We forgot to hurt. That. We have to get into that as well. But no, I will not be attending. Again, I've been so focused on this beautiful show and what we're doing here and trying to get everything locked in for us because I think this is going to be amazing. So I will make it out to Rams games. Rams, don't hate me. I'm trying to work my way through some things right now. But no, I will not be there this weekend, but I will be at plenty of Rams games. So we're going to have a lot of coverage there.
By the way, and I'm just looking at the number right now, and it's significant because we had a press release today. 670 people tuning in right now. 6:70 a.m. We're back on the air, and I tweeted this out today, and I was so stoked that Lee Hacksaw Hamilton chimed in. You guys are probably too young to remember Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, but legend in Southern California sports talk radio tweeted out the fact that we are on the air on 6:70 a.m. Tonight. So like Lee chimed in. That was very cool. Jim Rome began. Calabasas High School, the legend. Big Baby Jonathan. Shout out Big Baby. I owe you a text message at some point, my man. Gotta get you connected. We got Grant on the Clippers and we got Big Baby on the Lakers. We're gonna dominate this season. But okay, so I bring up the preseason. This is the reason why. I love SoFi Stadium. I really, truly do. I think I have mastered the ins and out, the back ways and the sideways and the shortcuts and things like that.
Is it terrible that I've never been there?
Wait.
Oh, Jake.
What's
is that
wild?
Bad?
Like, okay.
Is that bad?
So listen, full disclosure, Jake Dicker has been in.
Yeah, I've been in the Midwest for the last 4
that
years
being
during
said,
football
he's
season.
not like this place opened up in 2020. I get during the pandemic, I get that, but like you have not stepped foot in SoFi Stadium yet?
I've been in like the team store. I've never scanned a barcode and walked in.
No. Okay, so we got to correct
We need to
that.
change that.
Okay, so
Yeah, no,
hey,
for sure.
I will put this out there. So this is what I tweeted out, and I'll look up while we're talking. So a tour ticket to SoFi, like if you want a standard 60-minute tour, there are different levels to the tour. There's one level where you don't go on the field and you don't go into the locker room. It's ridiculous. You should get like the full experience if you get the tour. But if you got the cheapest version of this tour, it's $45. If you wanted to go to the Chargers Seahawks game on Saturday, it was $4 for a preseason ticket. If you wanted to go to the Cowboys Rams preseason game, it was $23 for a preseason ticket. So I bet you could have gone to both preseason games, gotten a hot dog for the same price as a tour ticket. So I will look up what the Chargers Rams preseason ticket would be. I'm assuming it's about the same, but we are getting our first Inglewood Carmageddon situation. So this Saturday, I think it's Saturday, right? Grant, is this August 17th? Is that so we got Chargers, Rams, SoFi. We got, I'm gonna mess up his name. What's the comedians at
Sebastian Maniscalco. Oh yeah, baby. Italian.
Which I love. So this is the cheap way that you can go to the Intuit Dome, because if you want to just get your foot in the door for the Bruno Mars concerts this weekend, it's like $500 for the cheapest ticket. So, like, I love Bruno. Saw him in Vegas. I think he's amazing, but I'm not spending $500. So, Sebastian's a little bit cheaper. So, Sebastian's performing. There's a concert at the Forum in Cosm, which is the mini version of the Las Vegas Sphere, which we all have to go. They're having an event too. It's like there's like 4 events happening at the same time. But Jake, I highly encourage you to go. But SoFi is just I was so stoked to see that place pretty much packed for a Cowboys Rams preseason game. I know it's the Cowboys. There's a lot of Cowboys fans here. That being said, Grant, Stetson Bennett got me nervous. Right, he had a good first quarter. Then he threw 4 picks. But you know what the turning point was? He had that 5th pick called back, and he said, guys, here we go. Led them, escaped the sack, sidearmed a game-winning touchdown pass. I mean, that's all you can hope for. I mean, it's a backup quarterback. Again, he will be, and we'll see if they're comfortable with them. The unique thing about the Rams is that Jimmy G will not play this preseason. I mean, when I tell you that Sean McVay is extremely cautious, he is extremely cautious. Jimmy G will not, but Jimmy G will also not play the first 2 games of the season because he is suspended for what I think he had like performance
PEDs. Can you believe that?
Wild. I mean, that's shocking to anyone who watched him last season in Las Vegas. So
bad batch.
Either Stetson Bennett is the primary backup, or they're going to find someone else. But Grant, what'd you think of Stetson Bennett's performance?
I can't even begin to tell you, because I don't know what to believe at this point. There's so many people that are like, well, did I see potential, or is it just a disaster? Because some of these plays that he makes, guys, I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, that looks like an NFL quarterback. Wow, that looks like somebody that could back up Matthew Stafford, maybe even take over. And then there's other plays where he's just looking right in the defender's eyes and throws it directly to him. And I'm just like, listen, I think all 3 of us could have had a better read than that. So I don't really know what to make of that first preseason performance. I'm going to go back to last preseason where he actually looked very good. And unfortunately, he had that whole situation where it caused him to miss the entirety of the rest of the year. But last preseason, he looked actually pretty good in the starts that he got and in the time that he got. So this preseason, I was expecting, hey, look, maybe he's learned from his mistakes. Maybe he's learned and he's grown and gotten better. And then he throws those 4 picks, and maybe the 5th one, I'm not really sure if the defensive holding really counts, because I'm still going to count it as a pick, basically, because he still did it.
Back. That was the turning point.
He'll live and die by the stat sheet. If it's not on the stat sheet, it didn't happen.
Okay, fine. I'll give him the 4, and still, that's not very good. But anyways, that play, the play that won the game, was unbelievable. So it's like I get the highest of highs with Stetson Bennett, where he gets to roll out, throw a sidearm Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Caleb Williams type throw to win the game. But I also get the really low lows where it's like this guy does not look like he belongs on the NFL field. So I'm going to reserve judgment on Stetson Bennett until maybe I see the second and third preseason game. I want to see how he gets, he grows from this. But I'm up in the air about that. I love a few of the other players. I'm going to let Jake go first, but I love some of the other pieces that the Rams had in the preseason game. But I'm going to let Jake go first before I go off.
Jake, hold your thought. We're going to, when I say break, we're going to have a quick pause. We're going to get a quick breather. We're at about 1,000 people tuning in. I am so pumped for this. I'm so pumped for what Grant Mona is helping us do here. Jake Dicker, whole crew. We're going to get Armani Buckets joining us here in a bit. But let's leave it there for now. When we come back, more on the Rams and the Chargers when we come back right here on KIRN 670 AM, the Bet Las Vegas, and the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Are back. Welcome back to the Arash Markazi show on KIRN 670 AM in Los Angeles, the Bet Las Vegas, and the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Just as a reminder, if you have a question or a comment, you can hop in the chat, but also give us a call at 310-400-0340. We'll be giving out tickets, sandwiches for Mike's. That's right. Sandwiches for Mike's. We're really pumped about this. I mean, Grant, we got over 1,000 people, tuning in, and that'll only continue. When we lock in an actual, time slot and promote it, do little things like that shows do. But man, we are so pumped that you're along this journey with us. As we were talking about going into the first break, Rams, Chargers going head to head preseason at SoFi. By the way, they were supposed to have a scrimmage on Wednesday. That is not happening. The Rams are going back up to Oxnard to scrimmage against the Dallas Cowboys. Let's welcome in our main man, Brandon Deutsch. Brandon, how are you doing?
Doing great. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, bro, we are live. Over 1,000 people tuning in, looking at your beautiful face. So pumped to have you. Listen, so the Cowboys and the Cowboys Rams are going to scrimmage again. Why? Because the Rams were about to move into their new, when I say new facility in Woodland Hills, it's new, but it's not their actual new facility. They have not broken ground yet on what will be their, new state-of-the-art multi-million-dollar practice facility. That is not yet done. The Rams, Grant, will be here probably 10 years before they get finally a permanent home. When I say permanent home, a permanent practice facility. But again, their new temporary facility in Woodland Hills is not quite done. It'll be done before the regular season. But because they had to go back to Cal Lutheran, they will be scrimmaging against the Cowboys on Wednesday, not the Chargers. But they will play the Chargers in the preseason on Saturday at SoFi. And by the way, Brandon, we learned that Jake Dicker has not been to SoFi Stadium yet. So we do have to figure this out. We were just shocked as you. Jake, what are the chances you're going to go to SoFi this weekend to see the Chargers and the Rams go head to head?
This weekend, I'm not sure what the percentages are. Before we had started talking, they were 0. Now they're a little bit higher. But I will get there at some point this year for sure. It's never been out of I'm anti SoFi or anything like that. It's just I've been out in Wisconsin for the last 4 years during football season, which essentially is the lifespan of that building. So yes, but I'll get there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was surreal covering that first season with like no fans. So, not going to knock that. The expectations for the Chargers this season, I think that they're going to be obviously improved. They are not as talented on paper as they have been in a lot of previous seasons. Again, for example, a year ago, you're looking at Keenan Allen, you're looking at Mike Williams, you're looking at a team on paper that certainly you would think would contend for. I mean, when I say contend for the division, at least give the Chiefs a run for their money. Again, the Chiefs are the best team in football, but I don't think anyone saw them imploding the way that they did. Brandon, let me pose this question to you. I mean, what are your expectations? You saw firsthand what Jim Harbaugh can do with a new team. Again, San Francisco was in the rut for like 10 years before Harbaugh got there. Listen, a different time. His practices, though, I mean, his players buy in. When you have a proven track record, the one thing that you do get is the players do buy into what you're doing. What are your expectations for the Chargers this upcoming season?
Yeah, Arash, I think they're going to win probably 7 or 8 games. Now, I know a lot of people think they'll be closer to 8-9 and be that second team in the division. I just think the Raiders defense, like I'm bought in on them. I know they don't have a quarterback. I do think the Raiders might be a little bit better in year 1 of Jim Harbaugh. The Chargers still have a lot of flaws. I mean, they have QJ as their wide receiver 3, and, can he catch a pass yet? Like, we don't know. Obviously, he's good with yards after the catch, but Josh Palmer is the only guy who's really there besides QJ that has a rapport with Justin Herbert, right? So he's there, and then you got Ladd McConkey, the rookie from Georgia, which I thought was an ace of a pick. Like, I think he's going to be one of the better rookie wide receivers. Joe Alt, I also don't hate on them. I would have taken Neighbors, but I don't mind Joe Alt because now you're going to protect Herbert for years to come with Alt and Slater on both sides of the football. I think it's going to take one more year, though, before they're a playoff team. Like, I don't think it's instantly going to happen. The Chiefs probably cruise to that division, and the Raiders might get 9 wins. It's going to be I think every team in that division wins 6 games. I think Bo Nix is going to do pretty well for Denver. I do think every single team in that division will be like 6, 7, 8 wins, maybe 9 would be the Raiders. And of course the Chiefs would win 11, 12 games.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the Chiefs are no doubt still the class of the division. ArmaniBuckets, welcome to the program. I obviously I'm rooting for Caleb Williams this upcoming season, but I think the rest of the country is now getting a firsthand look at Caleb while they're watching Hard Knocks. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna pose the question to you, but I'm gonna guess your response. You are not a Hard Knocks guy, if I had to assume. But the Chicago Bears are the featured team. Are you watching Hard Knocks?
Yes, I am. And I actually I do watch Hard Knocks.
Okay.
And I went in to the Caleb Williams experience with a blank slate. I was going to allow for his play and for his actions to demonstrate how I should feel about him. And so far, I mean, I know it's only one preseason game, but my goodness, I haven't been this excited about Bears football in a long, long time. The scramble to his right, the improvisation, and then throwing it right on a dime on that rollout to his right. The 3rd and 12, he put it right on the money. And maybe the best one of the day was that screen pass, because the screen pass, if you guys saw it, it just shows his ability to kind of that Houdini type trait that he has. And it's just it's a joy to watch. I'm very excited to see what happens when he gets even more reps in the following preseason games. But again, it's only preseason. We have to preface by saying that. But man, he looks like the real deal.
He does.
Arash, can I say something real quick? I've been looking at going to the Rams-Bears game in Chicago.
Oh, here we go.
Armand, can you tell your fan base to please lower the price of tickets at Soldier Field? Because they are insanely expensive, and for a team that hasn't made the playoffs in I don't know how long, they should be a little bit cheaper. I know it's the Rams, I know it's Soldier Field, but I'm trying to go to see them in Chicago. And I just look at these tickets; they're like triple of what SoFi is, which is kind of crazy.
I've had that game circled for a while too, and the ticket prices are hefty.
Jake, we got to do something about this.
I'm going to Wisconsin USC at the Coliseum on the 28th
Oh, there
instead.
you
If you
go.
want to join me.
I feel like
Might
if
be
you
the
want the
move.
real Chicago experience, though, I know that we can't determine the schedule, but you got to go in December.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh,
The
God,
week
I'm not
you
going
can't
December.
down. Like, for
It's going to be a
example,
shock for Grant if he goes then.
I mean, Jake brought up Wisconsin. Like, I've always wanted to go to Lambeau Field. I'm not going in November, December, January.
Yes,
Like,
you are. You
that is
have
a
to.
September. That is a September trip. That is
It's
not
a bucket list thing, though. You have to do it for the bucket
I
list.
mean, but bro, like, what? I'm gonna get frostbite. That's not a bucket list thing that I want to do in my life. I want to go there. I want to see it, but I'm not trying to get frozen. That's not,
We're not saying January, Arash. November, December, not
It's
January.
still
Still
bad.
bad, Armand.
What are you?
Come on
What are
now.
we talking about here? It's still,
Guys,
pretty.
it's
Maybe I'll
not
go to the
that
Bowls if
bad.
it's inside. We can go to the Bowls.
If you dress for it, it's not that bad.
Okay.
It's really not.
It's not.
And then
I'm
you
not doing
put
it.
down, you go to Lambeau and you'll put 2 down and you won't feel the frostbite
We sound
anymore.
so
You'll be
soft
fine.
right now as
That
LA
is true.
people.
This
We
is such a
just do.
SoCal. By the way, like the region that we cover, right? Southern California, Las Vegas, Hawaii. Like, of course, yeah, we're all like, if it gets below like 50 degrees, like we're not, we don't want to go outside. So, it totally makes sense. All right, Grant, you've been there, you've toured the Intuit Dome. You gave the defining tour. When I say the defining tour, people have given their surface level tours. You gave the full half hour, full experience. The Intuit Dome opens this week. Bruno Mars opens it up Thursday, Friday concerts. $500 to get your foot in the door. Listen, I've seen him in concert. If you're a fan of Bruno Mars, don't want to say 500 is worth it, but like, why not? The significance here is these are the first 2 events at the Intuit Dome. Again, Grant got to see it, private tour. Some other people have been lucky enough to see it. But this is the first event where the public sold out, the seats filled. The significance, Grant, again, you've toured it, you've seen it. I'm assuming you're not going to the concerts, but you will be there maybe for a few of these events prior to the start of the season. The significance of the Intuit Dome finally opening up to the public this week.
Arash, I was just complaining about Chicago Bears tickets being a little bit pricey, so
Yeah.
I'm probably not gonna make my way out to the Bruno Mars concert. I'm looking at the Sebastian Maniscalco
Yeah.
show though. That sounds like a really fun time, and I've been a fan of his for a long time now. So yeah, I'm probably gonna make my way out to some events here. There's like concerts almost every weekend from here until the opening night. And we also got who the Clippers are playing opening night and the date that the Clippers are playing to open the Intuit Dome as well. So that's going to be fun. They're going to be playing the Phoenix Suns on October 23rd. That's a rivalry game for the Clipper fans. A lot of people don't really understand that, but it is kind of technically a rivalry between the Clippers and Suns. So that's going to be fun to open up the Intuit Dome for the regular season. In terms of what this means, I mean, I want to preface this for everybody that's going in to probably watch the concert. They've made it so cool for concerts too. I remember I went to a concert at SoFi when it first opened up, and they don't really allow a lot of people to use the full Halo board at SoFi. The Intuit Dome, they're going to allow them to use the full Halo board front and back. So even if you're sitting at the top, you're basically going to have like a front row seat to the performance because it's that massive. So even if you go and get the cheapest ticket, you're going to have an amazing view and amazing time. I really love that they did that for every fan, not just the people at the lower bowl. It's going to be fantastic. The lights from that Halo board reflect onto the top of the Intuit Dome, so that's going to be really cool. I'm just excited to see how it maneuvers, how the parking is, because when I went for my private tour, obviously the parking was just, it was scarce, it was minuscule, there's not a lot of people there. I want to see how that works and see how people give their experiences in that kind of department, because again, Inglewood is a very beautiful city. It's becoming a city where sports lives, but it is very small. That area is very convoluted. So I'm excited to see how they maneuver that, which parking garages you can use, because it's going to be a mess to begin, much like SoFi was, And honestly, guys, still is. So there's a lot of moving parts here. Like, it's not going to be fluid as soon as the first show happens or even the first game happens. But in any regard, I think it's going to be an amazing venue for not just concerts, not just shows, but the Olympics in 28, the All-Star game in 26. Clipper fans are just so excited for this, even for the concert. Like, even for the Bruno Mars concert, Clipper fans are like, I can't wait for this to happen because it's the official Open. So exciting times for Inglewood, exciting times to be a Clipper fan.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Also exciting time because it is football season right around the corner, and I'm not just talking about the preseason. Although, listen, preseason football is fine. I mean, at least it's football. College football, and you know it's college football when the Associated Press comes out with their first poll of the season. Brandon, you texted us. You texted us the rankings. Again, not shocking to see USC in the top 25. They generally begin the season there, but they're pretty low in the top 25. Number 23 going against Louisiana State, who I believe is 13. The significance here is when you have a big preseason game like this, neutral site against a top 15 team, you can really kind of really let the country know that you're for real. And the last time we saw Miller Moss on the field in the Holiday Bowl against Iowa, he looked like the real deal. And according to Lincoln Riley, which I thought was a little bit of a jab to Caleb, although he'll push back on that, he said that game was the most together he had seen the team that season. I don't know what that says about last season's team, but obviously they did not have a great year. Your expectations for USC, again, big game, but I think that's the way you like it. Like, let's start the season strong. Brandon, your thoughts on the AP poll and also that first game, USC, Louisiana State in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I'll be there. I can't wait for that game, Arash. September 1st, Sunday, the only game of the day, by the way, the only college football game that day. And LSU, look, they're ranked 13th. They're an SEC team. We know they're going to have an elite defense. They have Perkins. They have some guys. They have hard hitters, good DBs as always. Their quarterback situation is a little suspect, and that's, I think, where USC can kill them. It's going to be a high scoring game. I do think that Miller Moss will have a pretty good game. I think they're going to have to establish the run a little bit. But I say this about Lincoln Riley teams, and I love Lincoln Riley. I think that was one of the best hires of the last decade in college football, especially for a program that's really needed it and has struggled in recent years. Let's call a spade a spade. Riley did great his first year last year. There was a cloud around Caleb going number one. He would have been the number one overall pick the year previous if he was eligible. And I think that kind of hurt the team camaraderie. I think they're more together now. They hired Lynn to be the DC. And I'll say this about Riley. Every time there's not as many expectations, what does he do? He wins 10 games. Every time there's tons of expectations, he doesn't make the college football playoff. That's kind of been his career so far. They have a tough schedule, but I'm expecting a win against LSU. I don't think their quarterback play is good enough to win that game. And I do expect them, even playing Michigan and Penn State and, Washington, Notre Dame, all those teams. I think they win 9 or 10 games this year and surprise a lot of people, finish as a top 10 to 15 team. I really do. And it's all on Lynn. It's the defense. Because remember, they couldn't guard anything last year. And they hired him, and he transformed UCLA's defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's still the most surprising thing, Grant, when I think about the last season. Like, the only positive about them imploding in the Cotton Bowl, I thought, again, this didn't happen this way, that I thought was like, you cannot bring back Grinch as the defensive coordinator following the Pac-12 game implosion against Utah, following the implosion against Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, the fact that they brought this guy back, giving up 50 points, 500 yards to Cal. Listen, it was what it was, and it wasn't just on the defense, and it wasn't just on Grinch, but that had a lot to do with it. Grant, I don't know what to think about USC going into the season because there's a lot of question marks. I do think, would love to get your thoughts, that we're going to learn a lot about this team in that first game.
I agree, and this is going to be a tough season for them just schedule-wise. I mean, anytime you move into a conference with a lot of premier teams, it's not going to be easy, especially teams that are really beefy on the offensive line, teams that love to ground and pound in the Big Ten. It's really not a joke, and Jake, I know he believes that too. So it's not going to be an easy season, but with Lincoln Riley and with the offense that they employ and with Miller Moss, hopefully he can continue what he did in the bowl game that we saw. And it's not going to be that spectacular, but at least something remnant of that. I think they can be very competitive. It's not going to be a terrible season. It's not going to be a bad season, but we have to temper our expectations a little bit. There's a reason they're 23rd. They're going to fluctuate here within the top 25. I'm excited to see the football. I'm excited to see the post-Caleb Williams kind of era. But I want to give it to Jake because I know Jake has some thoughts on Big Ten football as well.
I'm just excited that you guys all get to experience Big Ten football because there is no greater different style of football when you're talking about the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. They could not be more opposite. Big Ten is ground and pound, as Grant mentioned. I mean, and the schedule is tough, right? Like the Big Ten, you're walking into Ohio State, you're walking into Michigan, Penn State, Oregon. I mean, I know Georgia comes in as the number one team in the country in the AP poll. I personally have Ohio State as the number one team in the country. I don't think it's a stretch to say they're the most talented team in the country at every single position besides quarterback. Brought in Will Howard from Kansas State, who's a very, very good quarterback, threw for over 2,600 yards last year, ran for, I think, 10 touchdowns as well. So he's going to be really good, and he has everything around him. Oregon is going to be unbelievable. Dylan Gabriel is a stud. And they are going to run through the Big Ten. Whoever wins that game, the Ohio State-Oregon game, is going to be the number one seed in the college football playoff. I think Georgia's very good. I think Carson Beck is really good. I just don't think they have enough to match up with these two teams. But the Big Ten's going to be a gauntlet. It's no one, and there's no clear bottom team in the Big Ten either. Like there's no bottom feeders in this conference that are going to allow SC, UCLA, Washington to kind of pick up those early, easy conference wins and get their feet in. I mean, Purdue, Minnesota might be down there at the bottom, but outside of that, UCLA is not going to be great. Let's be very, very clear there. However, it's going to be tough. So SC is going to go as far as the defense takes them. Brandon's right. I think Miller is going to be really good. And it's crazy because if Miller didn't play in the bowl game against Louisville, who knows? My guess is he's on a different campus right now. So he's going to go as far as the arm takes him.
Yeah. Before we close,
I was just going to say Will Howard was supposed to go to SC right at one point until Miller Moss had that big game, and he ended up going to Ohio State.
He's like, "Whoops, that's not happening." All right. Before we close out, quick show announcement that I'll remind you guys of. Not going to be a part of Friday's show. Having my bachelor party. That's right. I am. My brother is forcing me to go to Vegas where I live. So I don't know what kind of a bachelor party that's going to be, but it is going to be the way that it is, and we're going to have a good time with this. An amazing live first show, 1,500 people tuning in live. That is wild to me. That is crazy. No promotion, nothing. We're going to continue to do this. We'll have an actual time and all that. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. That is all the time we have for today. Let's do it again tomorrow. Until then, this is Arash, Markazi, and the crew saying, stay safe, stay healthy.